A brutal snowstorm swept across northern Montana, turning highways into sheets of ice and trapping travelers in whiteout conditions. 15 bikers, members of a veterans riding club, were on their way home from a charity event when the storm hit. The freezing wind cut through their leather jackets, snow piled high on their bikes, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. They tried to push forward, but the engines began to fail one by one. Just as panic started to set in, a faint golden light flickered in the distance, the window of an old farmhouse. The bikers followed it, their boots crunching through deep snow until they reached the door. The leader, Jake, knocked gently, expecting rejection. Instead, the door opened to reveal an elderly woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Oh dear, you boys look half frozen. Come in before you catch your deaths," she said warmly. Her name was Martha Jenkins, a widow living alone since her husband's passing years ago. Without hesitation, she ushered all 15 men inside, wrapped them in blankets, and served steaming bowls of soup by the fire. The men sat in silence for a moment, overwhelmed by the kindness of a stranger who had saved them from the storm. Martha moved around her cozy kitchen, her hands steady despite her age, pouring cocoa into chipped mugs and serving slices of homemade apple pie. The bikers, rough-looking with cold-reddened faces and leather jackets, sat quietly, unsure how to respond to such warmth. "My husband used to ride too," Martha said, smiling softly as she stirred another pot of soup. "He always said bikers have the biggest hearts." Her words melted the last of their hesitation. Jake, noticing her small pile of firewood and nearly empty pantry shelves, exchanged glances with his crew. Without saying a word, they all stood and got to work. Some went outside to chop wood, others fixed the squeaky door, cleared snow from her porch, and checked her old generator. Martha tried to protest, but they only grinned. "You took us in, ma'am," Jake said kindly. "It's only fair we help you too." The warmth of the fire mixed with laughter, the sound of boots on wooden floors, and the smell of cocoa. For the first time in years, Martha's home felt alive again. As night fell, she sat in her rocking chair, smiling as the bikers shared stories of brotherhood and loss, feeling like she had gained 15 grand when morning came. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world of white silence. The bikers quietly gathered their things, careful not to wake Martha, who had fallen asleep by the fireplace with a soft smile on her face. Jake looked around the little farmhouse, the cozy warmth, the smell of cinnamon, the quilt draped over her shoulders, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. Before leaving, the men cleaned her kitchen, fixed her broken fence, and stacked enough chopped wood to last her through the season. On the table, they left a note signed by all 15, along with envelopes filled with cash and a small patch from their club that read, "Ride with Honor." As the engines rumbled to life, Jake glanced back one last time at the farmhouse bathed in soft morning light. "She gave us warmth," he said quietly. "Let's make sure she never forgets us." They rode off down the snow-covered road, leaving tire tracks like a promise. A few hours later, Martha awoke to the quiet hum of the wind. When she saw the neat stack of firewood, the envelopes and the note, her eyes filled with tears. "Good boys," she whispered, her heart overflowing with love, sons that evening. The following morning, Martha was sipping tea by her window when she heard a deep rumble in the distance. At first, she thought it was thunder rolling through the mountains, but as it grew louder, she recognized the sound. Motorcycles, dozens of them. Curious, she wrapped her shawl and stepped outside, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. What she saw made her freeze in disbelief. Lining her long driveway and stretching down the country road were more than 100 bikes, gleaming under the winter sun. Bikers from all across the state had come, men and women of every age, wearing leather jackets with patches from different clubs. One rider stepped forward, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Ma'am," he said with a respectful nod, "we heard what you did for our brothers. You reminded us what kindness looks like." Others brought groceries, firewood, blankets, and gifts. Martha's eyes filled with tears as they surrounded her porch, offering hugs and words of gratitude. A local news crew later arrived, capturing the touching scene that would go viral nationwide. From that day on, Martha was never alone again. Every winter, the bikers returned, making sure the woman who saved 15 lives would never be forgotten.